The last 2 nights of basketball had enough storylines for me to make a whole video on it, so we're going to recap the last 2 nights of basketball. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. We're dropping NBA recaps every like 1 or 2 days. This is pretty much a daily upload channel, so I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. If not, wait until later in the video and then make that decision. All right. So first, we're gonna start off with Thursday's games. We had like 5 games on the slate. It's one of like the like least amount of games we've had on a slate in a long time, and we will have for a long time. And to be honest, these games were kind of weak, but we're gonna go through them. 76ers lose to the Nets 109 to 122 without KD and Kyrie. So definitely a disappointing loss for the Sixers, who were atop of the NBA at that point in time. And it really falls on Ben Simmons' struggles. 11, 4, and 2 was poor from the field, and I keep on reiterating every single time we talk about the 76ers, but I expect this Harden deal to end up happening with the way Ben Simmons is showing himself, because it's not working with Doc Rivers, with Harris and Embiid in this new scheme. It doesn't seem to be working. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Simmons got shipped away. Previously in trade talks, they were talking about the Sixers wanted more back than just Harden, but it's going at a point where I could see almost a straight up flip. Again, no KD and Kyrie. Chris LeVert shot 9 for 25. I don't remember exact amount of points he had. I think he had like 24. But he led the scoring way. Really just a disappointing game. But we saw Bruce Brown be moved up in the starting lineup for the second game in a row instead of Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot. Gives them a little more defense on the wing, which is what they wanted. When KD gets back, he's obviously a solid defender. That'll help out for them. But I do expect to see the Nets struggle. But we'll actually talk about the Nets a little bit later on in this video as they played a back-to-back. Cavaliers beat the Grizzlies 94-90. Obviously, the Grizzlies are missing their 2 best players, but Drummond looked really nice for the Cavs. 22 and 15 for him. I'm not going to stay on that one too much. T-Wolves beat the Blazers 135-119. Not too many key players here. Really just want to talk about the fact that backcourt of Dame and CJ, I'm curious to see if there's any moves to be made, because CJ's just been inefficient this year. Dame has been struggling, but obviously Dame's not going to go anywhere. CJ's been rumored for a while, and I want to see if anything ends up happening with them. The T-Wolves look a little bit better. Anthony Edwards, I personally was not a guy that liked Anthony Edwards, but this guy looks ridiculously good. I want to see his jump between years, going from, obviously he's rookie to his sophomore season, sophomore to junior year, or just, I guess, third season in the NBA at that point. But Anthony Edwards looks like maybe the best rookie so far, which is surprising to me, just saying that LaMelo Ball looks really good. Wiseman looks really good. And some other guys like Peyton Pritchard obviously look really good. Spurs beat the Lakers 118-109, a little bit of a shocker. But when you look at the box scores, it's really not that amazing. Brown and AD put up 59 combined, right? No, Brown and AD put up, I believe it was 50. Everyone other than them had 59 points. That's an average of 5.4 points per player. When everyone other than your 2 best players are getting 5.4 points on average, you're not going to win a ball game. The Spurs played an overall good game. DeJounte Murray played well. Patty Mills continues to play well off the bench. LaMarcus Aldridge had a good game. Lonnie Walker had a good game in the lineup. So yeah, you're going to win a game like that. The last game of the night was Mavericks and Nuggets. They went into OT. Mavericks ended up winning that one 124-117. Good sign for Mavericks fans. They beat a good team. Luka ended up having 38, 13, and 9. Still continues to struggle from 3-point range. Once that picks up, I seriously do think that this is going to be his MVP year. Jokic had an MVP performance at 38, 11, and 4. Obviously, MVP performance. And then Jamal Murray looked a little bit better at 21 points per game. That game. But that obviously wasn't the great night. The great night was last night. Friday game, a ton of headlines. Melo going up against Zoe. Knicks finally lost one. Bradley Beal said some stuff about his own team. Really a good slate of games, but we're going to go through them right now, starting with the Suns. Losing to the Pistons 110-105. It came down to, Jeremy Grant had 31 and 10. Yeah, you're going to win games like that. When Jeremy Grant's putting up 31 and 10, they were down 23, I believe at half, and they made up that deficit with Jeremy Grant going in pretty well. And looking at the Suns' box score in their line, it didn't look like it was a terrible game. It just simply seemed like they couldn't defend down the stretch. Thunder beat the Knicks 101-89. Obviously, the Thunder are a bad team on paper, but they're 4-4 right now. Knicks are 5-4. There's not much to talk about in the box score. Darius Bazley struggled. Isaiah Roby struggled for the Thunder, so nothing really there. The Knicks didn't have anyone that really popped. The only thing I saw that popped is the Tom Thibodeau effect. When Tom Thibodeau is your coach, he's going to play players, and he doesn't care if you're tired. RJ Barrett put up 44 points. It wasn't an overtime game. He played 44 out of 48 minutes. Didn't even really contribute. He shot 7 for 21, had 19 points. And I just want to point that out. That's the Tom Thibodeau effect. And that's why they're winning games, is because he will make sure that the best player is playing at all times. The hot hand is playing. Whoever's playing best that game, he will make sure is playing, and he will not care if you are tired. Wizards lose to the Celtics 107-116. Beal had another 41. He's at 101 points in the last 2 days. The problem was, like Bradley Beal said in quotes, they can't guard a parked car. Thomas Bryant went down with injury. We're still getting MRI results on that, but the Wizards need to figure out the defensive situation, and I 100% would not be surprised if they made a move to pick up a wing defender to go alongside Westbrook and Beal, because obviously their forwards aren't great defenders too. Thomas Bryant wasn't a good defender when he was in. Robin Lopez is not a guy you want playing real minutes for your team, so they need to figure out a way to keep teams under 110 points on a decent basis. Like, I don't know if they've done that at all this year. The Jazz beat the Bucks 131-118. The Bucks struggled, but Giannis and Chris Middleton put up 66 combined. So other than that, they struggled, but the Jazz hit a franchise record 25 threes. And when a team's hitting 25 threes on you, you're going to lose the game. So that's what ended up happening with the Bucks. Nets lost to the Grizzlies 110-115. Chris LeVert had 43 points pretty efficiently too, without KD or Kyrie. Pretty interesting to see. I went through the Grizzlies line score. They didn't have too much that popped out. Dylan Brooks had a nice game. Jonas Valanciunas had a nice game. But overall, they just ended up winning the game. Hornets beat the Pelicans 118-110. Obviously, this is the show of the Ball brothers. Lonzo got completely locked up while LaMelo Ball was flirting with a triple-double, 12, 9, and 10 for him. He looked really, really good. He had a couple highlights, step-back threes, no-look passes. This LaMelo Ball guy looks incredible. Again, I mentioned Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman. Now LaMelo Ball, it really is a toss-up on who you think is the best rookie. Me personally, right now, it'd be Anthony Edwards. LaMelo Ball would be in third just because of his inconsistency, but I cannot wait to see him get more minutes. Zion he's putting up 22 and 8 on the year. I think that's going under the radar, and I want to point that out. We just expected this out of him. And as a sophomore player with no training camp, no real preseason, not a full year last year, this guy feels like a rookie to us, and he is incredible right now, averaging 22 and 8 on the year. So I want to point that out to you guys. Magic lose to the Rockets 132-90. Cole Anthony started, put up a nice 15 in place of Markelle Fultz, but Christian Wood had 22 and 15. It amazes me that the Pistons let him walk. It amazes me even further that the Bucks let him go for absolutely nothing. We could have literally a 2-year, $10 million deal would have kept him at that time. Nothing. Let him go to New Orleans. Nope. It's ridiculous that these teams let him walk. The potential was pretty obvious, and now he's putting up 22 and 15 for the Rockets. Raptors beat the Kings 144-123. This one was sad for the Kings, right? Fred VanVleet had 34. Obviously, they don't have many defenders at the guard position, but the Kings shot 57%, put up 123 points. They played really, really well. The fact that they didn't play well on defense is what killed them, because the Raps shot even better at 58%. And when a team is shooting 58% with you, and they have guys like Fred VanVleet putting up 34, you're going to lose the game. They lost by 21, and they still put up 123 efficiently. So the Kings need to find themselves a defender, whether it's on their team or not. And that seems to be the moral of today's slate of games, or yesterday's slate of games, rather. The Clippers choked the game away. They were up big in the second half. Stephen Curry had 19 in the third quarter, finishing with a 38-point triple-double. PG has been the MVP of this team so far. Kawhi Leonard needs to figure it out pretty fast, or else his team isn't going to go very far. But obviously, we see the Clippers at the top of the standings, so they aren't struggling too much. And in the last game of the night, the Lakers squeak a win versus the Bulls 117-115. No Anthony Davis. I do want to talk about the fact that Zach LaVine had 38. I think that his scoring is incredibly wasted on his Bulls team. I cannot wait for this team to develop a little more. I hope that LaVine has this year and next year left on his deal. I do hope he resigns, because I think this team has a great future. And we've seen that backcourt of Kobe White and Zach LaVine go off some nights with scoring. I believe White had 29 tonight, so almost 60 combined with the two. Thad Young had 15 off the bench, which is nice. I do want to bring up one last topic before we wrap up the video, which is Wendell Carter on the year is averaging 13 and 8. His defense has struggled incredibly, and when that happens, they put Thad Young in the game, who's averaging 12 and 4. Obviously, the rebounding isn't there for Thad Young, but I think it might be time to start Thad Young at the 5. Obviously, the 1 point in scoring isn't bad. The rebounding is a little bit of a concern there, but I think they need to try it out because they have not been able to guard the big whatsoever. They have, especially the pick and roll. Pick and roll and pick and pop is such a huge part in today's games and today's systems, and Wendell Carter is terrible at defending that. And maybe that's a fix that can happen pretty soon, but it hasn't happened yet, and they need to address it because Thad Young needs to come in when it's crunch time to be able to guard the pick and pop, pick and roll. So obviously, I just wanted to bring that conversation up, Thad Young versus Wendell Carter. Who do you think should be starting? Leave your comment down below. Also, I appreciate the recent support, especially on this last video. You guys absolutely blew that one up. Highest viewed video, highest viewed video on my channel. I really did appreciate that. We gained a few subscribers too. So if you're new here, let me know. I want everyone who's watching at this point to let me know when they subscribed. I'll shout you guys out in the next video because I appreciate you guys greatly. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.